how did Yamaha decide to make jet skis and pianos? Right? So
We are a noise company.
yeah.
All right, team, welcome back to the show. I got a special treat today. Texas Dave. Man, I'm gonna say your name, last name.
I was
one
gonna
more
say
time.
you're gonna go for it.
I'm gonna go for it, but it's
This is
only just
exciting.
because I know it's like the thing about Dave's his real last name. It's almost hard to ever get right.
Yeah.
But I feel like as long as I've known you, I got to at least try again.
Yeah, you can try. I'll just tell you now, best you can hope for of this is an 8 out of 10. And that's if I'm being generous. And that's not a reflection of you. That's just 38 years of this game. So let her rip.
All right, deal. Carapation.
That was really close. That was actually, I might give you a 9.
Oh, really? Okay,
It's
that was a little,
Carapation.
oh, that is. See, it's a
That was
little bit
incredible.
of some of the
So just
inflections on the
remember-
words you don't know.
Yeah. Just remember, if you're thinking about how it starts with a car. It's way easier that way.
That's way easier.
That
I
sounded
know
like
that
that's a
my
thing I
hack.
say. That's the first time I've ever said that, but that's because the only correction was that it's car. But that's it. So also to be clear, I can make up a score because if you talk to within my like close extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, 4 different pronunciations. It's a train wreck, and they're all wrong. Mine's wrong too. So
What is the most like guttural way you've ever heard somebody?
got a bitch on.
Gotta bitch
And it's
on.
supposed to be like with a K and an IAN, but my great grandpa, when he emigrated here from Armenia, he was like, no, Americans are terrible. They're not good at stuff. So let's make it YAN. That'll be way easier for Americans to pronounce. They don't really speak very well other things. We're coming to America. We'll make it easier for Americans. Wrong. It's made it so much worse. YAN is so much worse.
As a matter of fact, I'm
terrible.
like, I don't know what to do with that word because it's got a Y in the middle of it.
Yeah.
At the end, that's easy.
Yeah, it's just a mess. So yeah, Carpathian. But thus,
Okay,
Texas
not bad
Dave.
then. No, Texas Dave. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, for those that don't know Texas Dave, you ought to know. I mean, not only is founder, CEO of Rally Ready, arguably one of the best, not only rally schools and training facilities, but experiences in the world for people who've never done it before to folks who are absolute pros. You can see them all there, all walks of life, any day of the week, right outside of Austin, Texas, in a booming metropolis called Dale, Texas.
That's it, Bubba. I mean, really, it's really more like Lytton Springs, but the mail come from Dale. So the mail come from Dale. That's what's on the
That's
address.
what's on the address, man.
Yeah.
What's the zip code?
78616, big dog.
1-6, man. Back in the, as we like to say here in Austin, when you made it to the 1-6,
Yeah,
you made it.
for sure. It's the 616 even because we're in the 787 here. But once we get to that 786, it's getting a little weird. Not
Man.
Austin weird, different kind of weird.
Kind of weird.
Abandoned dogs, things like that.
Yeah.
Gunshots late at night. But yeah.
Various airstreams that aren't airstreams, all kinds of things.
You ain't
man.
wrong.
But I mean, everything from Baja champ, multiple times rally champ, Pikes Peak, has done it all in the racing community, and just all around a good human. So, brother, thanks for having you on, man.
Cheers, buddy. Good to see you,
buddy.
man.
Good to
Glad
see
to be
you
here.
too, man.
Yeah, always a pleasure to sit with you.
For folks tuning in right now, this is something new we've been doing. It's been fun to get audience questions in, other owners, asking owners what's on their mind. And so Jeff from Colorado goes, how much time do you intentionally spend mentoring and building your leadership team? Things like one-on-ones, retreats, kind of just spending time away from just the normal quick check-in. He's asking like the intentional time.
Man, that is like probably the biggest growth in the past year.
Okay.
Is like, man, we run on EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. That's kind of I called it my intervention. I dragged everybody in. I'm like, guys, we're going to burn this down if you don't bring some adults in the room. And if we don't have a system, then it all goes to hell. And so EOS for us has been a hugely important focus. And I know a lot of people have done EOS. We're aggressive. We're like to the T, by the letter.
Oh, you guys
because
have a textbook on it.
You have to. I mean, to me, it's like if you choose a system and then you're like, well, but it's like if you're the kind of chef that can take a recipe and can do whatever you want with the ingredients, more power to you. I don't have enough business culinary skills to start improvising. So like, that's what it says. We're going to do that. And, which is great. Got my one-on-one with my integrator, sort of right-hand person, CFO, who's he's a consultant and contractor with us right now, and best humans I've ever worked with. And I've got Mike on my leadership team, our CRO, who's been with me for years now and is just a sales engine. He's like
Rock star,
oh
man.
my gosh, he's like
people.
a diesel cruise ship engine. It's just like, I don't know how much horsepower
good
this
way
is,
to
but it's a
describe it.
lot.
Yeah.
It's not, it hasn't been moving fast, but it is an enormous amount of power, and he's just now getting up to speed. Those one-on-ones are everything. I mean, I will, that comes before everything else. My one-on-ones with those team members, it's always the easiest thing for us to be like, hey, we're both pretty slammed. Let's push it to tomorrow. Let's push it to next week. And I'm still guilty of it sometimes. And every single time we get in and we go, whew, because that alignment just goes everywhere else in the entire company, everywhere else in the org chart, the accountability chart is just like when we are all aligned and we're all rowing in the same direction, I'm not problem solving anymore because those folks are managing their teams and they're moving their people along. And my vision, dreams, ethos is also getting corrected before I get it out into the team accidentally. Because we're still a small company.
They're helping like play racquetball and like, hey, boss.
Yeah, they're helping me like, hey, listen, so love that. And that's the whole EOS idea is like, I'm a big idea guy. I got all kind of, let's have a rally school and a cruise ship, right? It's like, well, I've never even been on a cruise. I know this is coming up.
You had the ship engine. Yeah, let's
go.
Yeah,
right? That team is the ones to come in and who know how to have the healthy, positive conflict and dialogue and go to war. In a safe container where nobody's getting their feelings hurt, nobody's angry, nobody's raising voices, but nobody's rolling over. And those one-on-ones are just a nice mirror of that where it's like, hey, and that the dynamic is always, you get 5-6 people on a call, you're always in a dynamic of 5 or 6 people. There's always gonna be something that the two of you get on a one-on-one, you say, hey, was I too harsh? Was I blah, 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 and you get that peer feedback. And I think the part I'm most excited about is like, everybody knows that I'm like, man, I don't know how I got all you guys, but thanks for showing up every day. And like, I'll keep paying you as long as you'll keep coming. And that feeling is really reciprocated and they, feel really lucky to get to be a part of it. And every day, every single one of those meetings is reiterating that to each other. Is like, hey, I feel incredibly lucky to sit with you and learn from you sitting in my seat. I'm like, I feel so lucky to have these people coming and mentoring me. I'm mentoring them, sure, but like, man, I hired all these folks because they have skills I absolutely do not have.
Yeah.
And so it's both ways. And for a lot of people who are founders, who are operators, who are, passionate people with a niche skill or interest, a smoke master who wants to open a barbecue joint, that's very different from somebody who's like, hey, I want to start a profitable business. My buddy smokes a good brisket. Let's start a barbecue. That's the visionary. You're in the integrator seat. My case is reversed. That powerful connection to a team of people who see the magic and they see the, what we describe as our, our individual gift or our sweet spot, our unique ability, as we call it, who can nurture that and who can support it and who will remind you that the other parts, we don't have to call them liabilities, but they're not your unique ability. So let's stay focused on that. We don't have to criticize these pieces of you because you're, financially deficient. Let's focus on your vision and your unique ability and nurture that. And that's just, the sense, like the grounding confidence and belief in what we've built and what we're doing totally changes when you get all these amazing people around you. Otherwise you're just one guy who's like, yeah, this is cool. I think, I don't know, the internet says so. I got a lot of social media follower, but then you get those people who, are the world-class best there are. And you sit with them, changes the landscape. So that's it above all else.
That one-on-one's important then.
It's important. It's probably 10, 12
hours
a week.
Is it a mix of professional and personal stuff? I mean, you probably,
for
it
sure.
has to be, right? Like you can't be like, we're only talking shop here.
No, I'm not a believer in professional and personal life. Like if I don't know what's going on in your personal life and you show up and we're only talking shop and I'm like, man, what's up? And you're not allowed to talk about your personal life. How are we going to get anything done? Your kid's in the hospital. What?
Why are you here?
100%. So and in EOS, we have a container for that, segue at the beginning of the meeting. Hey, quick check-in. You're not allowed to talk about work. Where are you at? How are you? In my departmental meeting in the shop, our stand-up is like 1 to 5, where are you at? 1 is don't look at me, don't talk to me. I'm having the worst day ever. 5 is I'm radiating positivity and I have an abundance of energy and I want to help you all do your job more effectively. Most of us are a 3, 4. Those 5s are a little weird. But I had a 5 yesterday, man. I was like, what's up? What do you guys need? I'm ready to party. And I got a 2 from somebody yesterday. It's like, you don't need to tell me what's going on, but got it. So like, you got to have a container for bringing your personal stuff into work. So at least we know where you're at. I got to know where your head's at in order to be effective at work. And you spend more time here than half of us do at home. So let's make it a positive space. And let's not try to sanitize that personal touch out of it.
Hey, y'all, quick break. Here at American Operator, we believe that small business is the backbone of this country. But more and more, Main Street's getting swallowed up by big corporations, Wall Street, or some of them are just shutting down. And if you've ever thought about building something of your own, or just being a part of saving the American dream, head on over to AmericanOperator.com. It's your one-stop shop for inspiration, stories, and you'll get to join this really great community of patriots that believe our country is still worth fighting for. All right, back to the show. Having somebody who's grown up, run a business, but also grown up in the racing industry, like to me, those offer cool chemistry. And I think something that I'm hoping a lot of folks tuning in will get just kind of out of it. Before we get into the weeds on that, can you tell a little bit of folks, like, how'd you get into rally? I mean, is this something you, like, as a young kid, you're like, this is what I'm going to do, is not only race cars, but do it in something that doesn't make any sense?
Yeah, and that was a terrible decision. It's led us to here. So, you know, it's that, like, you know, I'm really glad for everything that's happened in life because it led me to here. Except for that. Well, and that probably would have done that differently. Well, you're very gracious and an exceptional host as always, and thank you. I'll do my best to own the accolades. Like anybody, it's kind of like, well, you know, do I deserve all that? But yes, no, we've got to do some really cool stuff. And I mean, yeah, man, I got here. I grew up in Austin in Hyde Park, and I rode my bike to school. I think I'm 38. I'm 1987 baby, and so I think I'm like that. I'm pretty confident that there's like up to 85, 87, maybe a little bit younger. You rode your bike to school and you came home and mom kicked you out, and you
That's
lived
right.
a hybrid life of kind of like you're in the 50s and in the 90s, and then that changed so dramatically for folks that are even five, a little bit younger than me. And all of a sudden, Halloween was dangerous. You had to be staying outside of school to pick up your kid. The whole landscape shifted a little bit. Your kid had a cell phone in second grade. So I grew up in that, just sort of the tail end of a time when, like, we had a Tupperware that I drilled holes in and tied to the end of a wooden stick, and I'd go to the golf course and scoop golf balls out and sell them back to the golfers. And it was my first business, and then go buy chili dogs at Pronto Food Mart in Hyde Park.
Pronto.
Yeah, classic.
Classic.
I'm pretty sure that chili was the same chili for like all 6 years that I went there as a kid.
It's like a sourdough starter.
Oh, dude. Oh, God, it's so much worse. Just like put a quarter can of Wolf in there every 3 days. You're like, the only people who buy this is those weird golf ball kids. But so Austin local, grew up here, and hindsight, it's easy to look back and be like, oh yeah, I kind of always had this vision of I just don't know how to operate in the world. I don't know how to, like, the idea of going and getting a job at Subway is the most unimaginably challenging thing, especially as, a young person. I was like, that's not my neural pathway. Like, my brain didn't know how to do that. So, I always had big dreams, big ambitions, big ideas, and was terrified of participating in the world. So dropped out of high school and told my dad when I was 16, I was like, Dad, I got my whole life figured out. I'd been playing in a bunch of punk rock and hardcore bands at the time, and so we played, old emos back on 6th Street back in the day, and Black Cat Lounge and all these super fun old institutions. So music was my path. We were, playing 5 shows a week, and came to my dad when I was 16. I was like, got it all figured out. He's like, this is going to be great. Let's hear this. I was like, I want to keep playing music. I want to learn to fly planes, and I want to race rally cars. And he's like, who's paying for that? I was like, oh, how hard? He's like, I have no money. You have 2 older sisters who went to out-of-state college. First one, I squeaked her through. Second one, it's just the loan party. I got nothing. Like, what are you talking about? And so I was fully convinced that was my career path. And again, it's like any good, we were talking, a little bit earlier, it's like, it's all part of the book. If you go from there to here, looks pretty glamorous. Pulled it off. We're doing rally car stuff all the time. But the reality is, like any good story, it was fraught with whose idea was this every step of the way, and constantly have to be like, oh, damn it. The problem with being an entrepreneur, or, being a visionary, being an idea person is you do like a full 360 trying to find somebody to point at, and you go, every time, damn it. Yeah. Yeah. It's like Liar, Liar. You're like, it was, man, So
That's a great movie, man. I haven't seen that in a while.
So good. Classic. So I was that age and brought that to my dad, and the real secret sauce there, and like the real magic moment was like, my dad was like, okay, let's sit down and talk about it. And we did. We sat and talked, and he did his best to take it seriously, which, like, I can't imagine as a parent sitting down and trying to take that seriously from a teenager. Like, being like, okay, I'll hear you out. What's the plan? What's the vision? What is a rally car, right? And so I made my case and I, wrote my business plan and I sold him on all the reasons that if he just bought me a race car, I would, become a professional race car driver. He borrowed some money from a family friend, and for my 17th birthday, we went and bought a rally car. And he's like, there's the car. You want to be a carpenter, you need a hammer and a tool belt, that's your hammer and tool belt. Like, good luck. I got nothing else because I don't have any other knowledge. I don't know what this is or why you're doing it. I don't know anybody who knows anything about race cars. I know nothing else. I have no other resources other than my skepticism and my love and like $6.75 more cents I can invest in this with you. And so the Cliff's Notes is found some folks on the internet who were like, we want a rally team. They were in Austin. I was like, I got a rally car. And they're like, great, let's do it. No idea how that worked. Nobody should write that down as a plan. It will never work. I think my dad's vision was I would be like, oh man, I really want to do this so much that I'm going to go get a job to pay for it. Had he understood the costs of motorsport, had he had a clue what it costs to do anything with a race car, he would have known that that plan was also destined to have a race car in storage in perpetuity. But I was fortunate enough to have a shop in Round Rock at the time. It was just a group of friends, and they were super excited about it. They'd volunteered at a rally, and they were like, God, that would be so cool. We did 2 rallies together, and they sort of funded those first 2 events. And because I got to do it, it's like once you've done it, it's game over. You will find, if you haven't done it and you've played video games and you've dreamt about it, it's easy for it to be a dream. But once you've tasted it, once you've been there, once you've done it, once you've gotten in a rally car and you've experienced what it's like to drive on a gravel rally stage with a co-driver next to you, and you're coming up to a blind corner and somebody's describing the next corner, and you commit to that, it's going to be approximately this much of a bend, and you turn in and the car slides, and guess what? The road's exactly, and you like feel that connection. That is what you described earlier, is when you're in a business and things are really, really hard and you're struggling, it's frustrating, and then you hit that portal, that accelerator, when like something clicks, a system works, you get the right people in the right seats, and it starts moving. That's what rallying is. And it's the magic for me was the team of having, it's not me. It wasn't me. It's not, I'm a race car driver. I'm not Max Verstappen. And then there's a team behind me. You're with somebody else in the car. And for somebody with extreme social anxiety and somebody who, reasonably neurodivergent in a variety of ways, that was really appealing to me when I, first sort of found out about motorsports. So that's the Cliff Notes of kind of how we got started. Shortly after 3-4 years in, I started mentoring with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that was a massive shift for me, because you get a how, you get a what with rallying, and I'm done a few events. I'd raced the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, I guess, 3-4 times at that point. And then the why happens when you get that like, oh, that's the good stuff, when you can facilitate all the terrible decisions you've made, mistakes you've made, dumb stuff you've had to do to learn, all the different roads you had to go down to come right back to the hub and go, okay, let's try this one. Let's try this one. Let's open that door. And then you get to have somebody else come there and you're like, don't open that door, don't walk that path. Can't tell you anything about those 2. Try one of them, right? It's like I can't give anybody an answer, but getting to mentor and provide that conduit to being like just opening doors for somebody else, that like changed my whole outlook. And so we developed a driving school, a rally school from that, and started on that in 2009. Didn't teach our first class until 2012. And that's what Rally Ready grew into. Now we're little different. We don't, we still do our rally schools. We still do our training, but the real magic for us and the real hub is being a conduit for world-class events, for like wild, unhinged things you can't possibly imagine. Brands have some vague idea of something they want to do, and they kind of like, I just want it to like, it's like, I need that like umami, I don't want to just do a thing. I like, we're like, I know what that looks like.
It's funny that like the only way you can describe that as a like an owner, as a leader, is like a noise.
Yeah,
it's like there's no word for it.
Yeah, when you're like,
like a,
yeah, it's like a right there, Sure,
I need that.
You get just the right scratch spot for the dog, and the toe starts twitching. It's that. Yeah. So that's our landscape now. I pitched this to my dad when I was a teenager. Bought me a rally car. I hope paid back whatever family friend we borrowed that money from. I should probably ask him that in hindsight. My dad's a pretty stand-up guy, but I wonder
He's
who
like,
that was.
we're estranged from them now because we couldn't pay
Yeah,
back.
that was your Uncle Ron. I've never met Uncle Ron. Well,
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dad? Thanks for that, Dave. What do you think? I'm curious, like that whole thing. Like, was it your conviction? What do you think Dad said yes? Why do you think he said yes when he could have talked you out of it?
I mean, we talked about it a lot then, and some of that was I'd spent the previous 3 years playing music and taking it really seriously. And that was like, you know, when I first came home, it was like, oh, I'm going to start a band with my buddies. He's like, oh, fuck, this kid. This is so like, it's not going to get better, is it? And then, you know, we started writing music and it was a plan, and we were calling all the venues downtown. And when they were like, sorry, we can't do any shows under 21, then we were like, well, why? And he's like, TABC. And we're like, well, how do we get around it? And they're like, we can't. And we're like, it's got to be something. And then we were like, well, what if we do it underage only? And so we created a whole entire ecosystem of matinee shows so these bars are like, oh, well, yeah, we can do it before 6 p.m., but TABC or whatever the law was, you know, requires ABC. And so we're like, cool. So we found the loophole. So we started going to these like, you know, folks who were into the music and into the scene, and basically made an appeal to be like, hey, can you host underage shows, you know, and charge more cover. So then all these other bands of young people started springing up because there became this ecosystem. And by the end of our run playing music in that era, at least, you know, Warner Brothers was coming to our shows and was trying to talk to us, and we opened the Austin Music Awards in 2002. And so he had enough data to be like, you know, not the confirmation bias of that's my boy, let's, you know, he can do anything, but like the healthy skepticism of any parent of their teenage son.
Yeah.
Intersected with like, we did this, you know, me and a group of friends, and we proved that we could be reasonably efficient. We didn't spend all of it on chili dogs that time. We put out 2 7-inches on vinyl, and we didn't do any drugs. We weren't drinking. You know, he knew that we got into the appropriate kind of trouble. Like, I would steal cones from parking lots to set up sketchy autocross courses, and the sheriff's like, you know, there's cameras. And I was like, right. I probably shouldn't do that.
We need more viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's on purpose.
Yeah. So the short answer is because he had enough data to not just, you know, blindly believe in me, but to take his love and belief and mix it with like, all right, he's made reasonably good decisions up to here.
That's pretty powerful, man. I mean, not a lot of fathers or mothers would. I think it'd be easy to just go, you don't know what you're doing. And instead, he seems like he saw kind of the raw ethic there, and maybe I don't know, your creative ways of navigating things. That's powerful, man. I mean, that's cool. That's not something that a lot of folks out there in the world get to grow up with.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And you don't know it when you're in it. You're like, oh, it's my dad.
Yeah,
My dad's the worst.
Yeah.
You know, but I also think that it's not just parenting. It's not just good parenting. It's just good leadership, right? It's like how do you create a good leader? How do you create a good, you know, how do you raise a stand-up kid? How do you create a functional, highly engaged member of society? You don't intuitively believe in yourself. Somebody's got to tell you that you're doing the right thing. Somebody's got to tell you that they believe in you, and somebody's got to put you in a position to make mistakes, still love you through it, and still continue to invest in you. Somebody's still got to be able to say, hey, it's not about that you bonked your head or you fell down or you did something stupid. It's the integrity you showed on the back end when I was like, hey, there's a security camera and we saw all that. And you double down and you become a, narcissistic little shit, or you say, yeah, that wasn't a great choice, was it? And then you sit down with humility and you face the problem. And I think for me, it's like, yeah, I owe my dad a tremendous gratitude for just who he is and how he handles things. But it's so much bigger than that, because it's not, that's raising a kid. And sometimes it happens when they're 17 and 18 and 20 and 25 more than it does when they're, 8, 10, 12. But that was, stands out as just good parenting, as absolutely unhinged of a bullet point as it is. Good parenting equals buy your kid a rally car for their 17th birthday. Absolutely not. But if we really get into it and we go to the sub bullets, it starts to look pretty good.
No, dude, it's awesome, man. No, that story alone just kind of even makes me have even deeper gratitude for my folks too. There's just a lot of that. I can have these micro memories that were coming through as you were saying that. And I think there's some cool gifts in there that, but talk about good parenting being good leadership and maybe vice versa. That's a cool kind of, it's a cool way to look at it. And I think for a lot of the times we'll use like I've always found it fascinating that the tools that we use sometimes at the office, we don't use them at home, and the ones we use at home, we don't use in the office. The good tools.
Yeah, yeah.
But dang, they're pretty applicable both ways.
Turns out, love everybody, treat everybody with a lot of integrity. You know, maybe put some boundaries around certain behaviors that you might, you know, have with people that you love and are intimate with versus your colleagues, coworkers, etc. Like, yeah, we should have boundaries. But I'm a firm believer that how you treat somebody is how you treat everybody. And the way that we often will code switch between, you know, work, you get in your car, you go home, and you become a different person to your family. It's Well, I think that's super important to have these containers where you can be uniquely authentic. I also think it's something that we've created in a really unhealthy way that's put up guardrails and we don't allow people to show up authentically in a workspace because, you know, they feel like it's gonna be an HR problem. You know, it's like, well, don't make it an HR problem, but you know, I'm a firm believer that how you interact with one person is how you interact with everybody. And I think that's a super crucial thing to see people emulate in you know, from a leadership position. What's the first leader we look up to? It's our mothers and our fathers.
Yeah, man. Well, one thing I've always observed you do, I think, as far as like I think you thread that needle really gracefully of like, you got an incredible sense of humor. And I think one that just like, laughter is powerful. And I can see that you make your people laugh. At the same time, there's this interesting balance you have with also like, they respect that you're the guy who ultimately has to make the call on things. Do you find that tricky, or how would you give someone advice out there who's trying to go like, yeah, this is like when I'm behind closed doors, this is how I get my wife to smile. You know, this is what I'm great at. I don't feel like I get to do that in the workplace because it feels like it might not be, you know, kosher, or might not be appropriate, or it might just be too weird. Any thoughts around that? Like how folks can maybe navigate something they're just like at their core great at? I see you do it all the time, making people laugh. Even right now, we're just laughing around, but at the same time, you don't ever lose that level of like, I don't even know that you're doing it intentionally. Like you don't lose that level of respect of like, at the end of the day, I'm still the guy who has to make the call on things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so at some point we do just kind of have to shut up in color sometimes and get going.
Yeah,
how do you manage those? How do you do that?
You know, back to sort of some of what that I've learned in the past 5-10 years, especially about myself, is like I didn't have until probably 2011 any social friends, and it sounds more ominous than it is, but like I was so hyper fixated on the thing I was doing, and I was also so nervous and didn't know this, right? I didn't realize that I'd put up these sort of blinders and boundaries. If you wanted to hang out with me through my 20s, you were going to find me in a shop working on a car, or you know, working on business. There's something, because that's the only space I felt safe, because I could curate the context, the rules, all of that, and then outside of that, I would the exact opposite. Any interaction I had as a kid, and you know, it still happens periodically, I become such a chameleon, I'll just mirror whoever I'm with. And I didn't know it was happening, you know? And so like I was friends with this kid, Chris, in 6th grade. Chris was the worst. My poor family. I remember in 6th grade sitting around the dinner table and realizing that I just sounded like this kid that I didn't even really like that much, but like he was a year older than me. We'd hung out a bunch, and like all of a sudden I was this kid. And we've all watched kids go through, you know, these phases. For me, humor has always been the grounding element of like, I can come back to authenticity through humor. I can also disarm the intensity of an experience with humor, and you can help other people know that like, hey, we're always allowed to be comfortable and to be having fun. We can be having the hardest conversation in the world, and we can still just take a minute and be like, hey, I still love you. We're good. I'm going to continue to tell you why the thing you just did will result in a termination if I see anything that can even remotely reflect that ever again. But that doesn't change how I feel about you, and it doesn't change that I still am a believer in your integrity, and like we're still good. So like keep it safe, but don't be a dick, you know? And humor is that really powerful tool. And for me, it's always been more intuitive, and it's been a like grounding sort of safe space to come back to when I you know, don't really feel grounded. But I don't think it's the same for everybody, right? Like humor comes really naturally for some people. If you know, it's know your audience. What's the like first rule of comedy? Know your audience, right? Second one is, what does Mitch Hedberg say? Don't be like pancakes. All exciting at first, but then by the end, you're fucking sick of them. So
Too much syrup.
Yeah. I think I wanted an eighth of a pancake. So humor is that tool right there, right? Where like we can be serious, we can then just like pull something that's completely unexpected. It's the surprise and delight of communication and interaction. And that surprise and delight that we all try to figure out how to build into our businesses to, you know, give our employees a unique experience, to take them for an offsite and be like, you're getting paid to go, you know, do a ropes course today. Yeah, it's team building. I'm putting it in the name so that you guys know that like we have an objective, but like just enjoy yourself. Humor is that surprise and delight that can help ground interaction. And I think everybody's got a version of that. Even the most stuffy person who is like, I'm just not funny. You're funny to somebody. And if you can tap into what that is with some people and find another container to share it in, great. But if it's not humor, then just write somebody a note and be like, hey, look, I'm sometimes real bad with my words and I don't really know how to talk good, but I do like you. And I hope you know that. Whatever, right?
Cliff. Yeah, right.
So for our team, one of the tools that I found is really powerful for that is look for it in onboarding, look for it in one-on-ones, and explicitly ask, hey, how do you like to receive positive and negative feedback? If we've got all these tools, like we live in such a, you know, everybody said this since the dawn of time, but like our access to information is so overwhelming, it will ultimately be our demise. And it's such a powerful tool. We can say love languages, and 99% of people we interact with are going to at least know what we're referencing it. That's crazy. Nobody knew what that was 10, 15 years ago, right? That was like woo-woo stuff that was in my mom's, you know, next to her birthday book and astrology stuff. It was woo-woo stuff, and now it's science. Now it's like, hey, no, these are the ways that we feel most comfortable and most programmed to give and receive feedback and praise. If you ask for that early without being like, could you share your love language with me? But you just say, hey, look, there's a few ways we're going to have hard conversations because this is a workspace. How do you want to have those conversations? Which of these things feels best and worst? Same thing. How do you want me to say thank you? Because for some people, if I buy you a Chili's gift card, you're going to be like, I don't want a Chili's gift card. All you needed to do was just in our meeting we just had, say, hey, I'm super proud of, you know, Greg's work on that. He did an awesome job, you know. It's just love languages. So you sometimes do more harm by picking the wrong thing than you do. Like, you could have saved yourself a lot of time and money. You could have saved $80 on your Chili's gift card if you just said thanks.
You might as well just punched me in the face with that gift card.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and it's just, I mean, the number of times I think any of us who have managed a team have been blindsided by our good intentions, creating a massive fallout or a cultural rift or whatever. Those are those are like, this is going to be a good chapter. This is important tuition. I'm learning. But yeah, humor for me is that tool. It's that bring it back down. Let's get everybody sort of, we're all aligned. When we're laughing, we're connecting, right? So that's a pretty universal language.
It's powerful, man. How did Dave go from Dave the rally champ to Dave the CEO? Like, and maybe not even how. What did you find in your reflections? What were the big evolutions of that made you one? I mean, there's obviously an intensity with bows. There's like a true investment of the craft in both those kinds of roles and seats that you've sat in. I'm curious what you've seen back in the day, and maybe in the context of folks who are trying to make that bridge, you know, step across what has to change or what did change for you.
I guess I'd be, I mean, as you know, because we've been friends a long time, and as your, you know, our listeners and friends here also know, I'll talk. So I'm curious, what do you feel like is the bridge that somebody's walking that we're trying to, you know, what part of that story are, because that's a big story. And I think for me, I didn't go from a rally driver to a CEO. I was just never a rally driver, right? It was a fake it till I make it. I said I was a rally driver until I was, but then I got there, and again, it's that false summit. I got there and I was like, I'm a rally driver. Well, by what measure? Well, I drive rally cars. Well, what? But then we all live in the imposter syndrome of like, well, that person gets paid to do that, and I'm not really getting paid. So am I really a rally
legit?
And there's always somebody more legit in any category. And so, I mean, I say the same thing. It's like people say CEO, and I'm like, yeah, we have a business that generates, you know, 7 figures of revenue, does very well. I do CEO shit all day long. The number of 3-letter acronyms that I know, my like general financial literacy and ability to, you know, blast through a P&L, and the way that I'm able to manage a leadership team and work with employees, like, oh, I'm a really good CEO, which feels really weird to say, partially because we've all been trained to be overly humble and to you know, I'm rubber glue, bounce off any, you know, kind words of affirmation around, you know, our positive attributes. But I didn't go from being a rally driver to a CEO. I drove rally cars until I found a thing that I wanted to flywheel that into to make a living and a career out of. And in doing so, found that the natural seat that played to my strengths was the visionary leader CEO role, because I am so operationally deficient, I can't even begin to describe to you. Like, as I said, I can read a P&L, but if you give me the edit button on anything that involves finance, it will go so south so fast.
We making zero money, y'all. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I
Or
got
lots.
the delete key. Yeah. Yeah. But it's having a vision of being in service of others for me is what drives me to like stay engaged on my leadership roles. If it was me, I'd be like, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But we've built this thing so big now. There's so many people counting on this for their well-being, and that's employees first, but it's also the companies that we work with. It's the businesses that rely on us to be a meaningful partner. That's what drove to the seat. The transition, an endless need for finding humility and growth. Those two pretty much being mutually tied together. Of finding that like, the more you can remember that you are capable and able, and also, endlessly flawed like all of us. There's no clear destination. We're not aiming for perfection. We're just trying to have the gap. Trying to have the gap. And as you do that, you build this team of people around you, and you look around the room and you go, I am not the smartest person in the room by a long shot. I am not the most capable person in the room by a long shot. And these people, these truly remarkable people, great example. You, a remarkable person, trust me to share my wisdom, my experience with you and these other people who are still with us. That's a huge responsibility. The same way it's a huge responsibility, whether it's my, entry level lube tech or, car washer, to my CFO. Those people all have a whole massive chart of beautiful, brilliant, amazing people relying on them for a contingency. And that pressure is the greatest pressure there ever was, because you just won't fail. You will not fail when you love those people that much and you care about them that much. You will wake up whenever you need to wake up. You will get whatever you need to get done. You will stay motivated through those impossibly hard moments and those really challenging, HR calls and all of the stuff that feels insurmountable when you're looking at it on your calendar. You get to the end of the day and you're like, I can do anything as long as I'm feeding them. Because sometimes I can't find it for myself. And it's, like there's those moments when it's like, oh, I'm easy. I don't need all this. It's like, yeah, but it's not about me. And it never was.
I love it, man. No, that's the bridge. I think a lot of folks out there, I think they don't know they're struggling yet, but I think they realize something's not working. It's like they were built to be the very best at this thing, this particular function at a company or something. They were, we're talking about P&L. So they're just like really brilliant accountant, they're just like, they've perfected the last 10 years of just getting there.
Yeah.
And then they kind of decide this one day that they're going to potentially do it for themselves, or now they got to run a team of folks that do this. And the one that I hear a lot is, a lot of the times when there is friction or something that doesn't go right, they just go fix it. They're just like, and they kind of push everybody aside and like, I'm just going to go, because that's what they were trained to do. And I realized, I imagine as a race car driver that like, that of course is what you're doing. And now you're realizing that like you get all these awesome humans. I imagine that's for a lot of folks, making that like jumping across that, to the next, going across the bridge into this thing. That's always a hard thing, because there is a little bit of that, not a little bit, there's a lot of letting go.
Yeah.
But also like you're ultimately responsible. It's a weird feeling. Like I got to let you do the thing, but I also am going to still take it like as my first ever, I would say, military mentor / right-hand man. He used to always point at me and he goes, we argue about something or exchange things. And at the end he goes, all right, sir, your call. You're the one on the red carpet ultimately. Yeah. Like you're the one who's got to live with the decision.
Yeah.
So I don't know, thoughts on that. Like how did you begin to let go or realize that like, okay, I do got to let these people do what they do. I can't fix everything.
You got to trust somebody else's wisdom. I don't know. I've never been down that road. You got to read books. You got to listen to podcasts. You got to ask questions. You got to find mentors, whether you can have an actual mentor or you just got to rely on, again, it's the access to information. You can listen to anything anybody has ever written anywhere within 30 seconds on your phone, no matter what you're doing. You can be walking through the desert 1,000 miles from civilization. You can open, this will pull your Starlink out, and you can, anything you want is at your fingertips. And it's super easy to forget that, because that convenience comes with the flip side of like, everything's so easy, let's just do nothing.
Yeah.
So you have to be, for me at least, it's about being regimented and being like, I'm not growing if I'm not challenging myself and challenging my beliefs, challenging my politics, challenging my prejudices, my assumptions, and asking maybe not the literal question, but being open to just ask the question of like, what's my next step to improve? What's the next thing that I can find growth in? And when you get into when you're in the opportunity, I think it's kind of as you described, that you get in the portal, you get in the fast track. And sometimes it's not a portal as in, oh man, all of a sudden, we got the right phone call or got the right sponsor for the race team or got the new investor, or got whatever. It's like, whoa, we figured out why our marketing outreach wasn't working because we had these 2 steps in our flow wrong, and you flip them. And then all of a sudden, again, that motivation pops. If you do that, but then also find that for yourself I can just read a book and take something out of that and go, whoa, and I think about it all the time. I think about, it's like, whether I'm thinking about, Jocko when I'm wanting to blame somebody else and I'm like, oh yeah, right. Or I'm thinking about, the E-Myth when I'm getting stuck in like, did I build myself a job again? Or did I build a business? It's like any of these, there are so many people who have gone way out of their way to write all of this down and be like, here, don't do these things. And that's all that we do as a business. And that's all that, we should be doing is our goal in life. It's like going back to parenting. We just want to be a little better than our parents were. We want our cars to be a little faster, maybe a little bit, less emissions. Maybe the tires will last a little longer. We want our businesses to make a little more money. We want our kids to be a little bit smarter, a little higher, emotional IQ. We just want to improve. Everything is just a little bit iterative. And for me, it's just that daily iterative internal narrative of, I'm driving here. I can listen to music. Great. Listen to music if I need a break because it's been a day. Or maybe do music for 20 minutes and then let me go back to a chapter of a book that's always super impactful and grounding for me. And then inevitably I'm going to go into the next meeting. I'm like a college freshman in their first psych class coming home for Thanksgiving. And you're like, well, actually, what that's called, Dad, you're actually mirroring. It's like you just become that cliche, but then over time, these things do become a part of your psyche and your ethos, and you do find yourself sharing things that you're like, I don't even remember where I learned it. It's just so ingrained as a part of my behavior patterns and of, and correcting. So again, all of that it's mentorship. Mm-hmm. And mentorship doesn't have to be go out in the world and find somebody to meet with every week at, using that Chili's gift card up, buying them some Southwestern egg rolls and asking for advice. It can be go read a book, go ask somebody else or care about to read that book with you. Go, find a collaborative person who's at a similar place who wants to grow with you, and just sync up with people who are on the same frequency. We say vibes now. It's like vibes is the thing. We remember vibes is vibrations. It's energy. It's finding people whose energy we match. It's finding people who have walked in a similar enough path, who can mirror or relate to a challenge, so they can support you and be like, oh yeah, buddy. Yeah, I was there last week. And then they call you next week and they're like, I'm going through this. And you're like, oh, buddy, screenshot a text message. They're like, yeah, you get it. That's what we're looking for. So find that mentorship, and it goes both ways. If you're going to get it, give it.
Yeah, man, that investment in the craft. And to your point, there's no rival. I think if you ever feel that you've arrived somewhere, then I think you've already kind of shot yourself in the foot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I made it, y'all. Just so everybody in the office knows I made it.
Yeah.
Y'all need to get on my level.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome
to me having made it. Yeah. I think I've met one person who made it, and that was my buddy last week who I was there when he passed away, and he made it because that's the only destination. That's it. That's the finish line, man. We got, and that's just depends on your spiritual beliefs. That's that chapter. Are we moving to something else? I don't know. But for this plane, this space, this planet, this life, that's the only destination we know we've got we're good. At some point, it's going to flatline.
Yeah.
What did we do between here and there, and how did we get there? And are we aiming for retirement? Are we aiming, it's like just that roadmap for me, that's such a fun one, and is so grounding when I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. I'm always in a project. this business is a project, you know, my career, my entire life, it's a project, you know, it's all a path towards what's the next thing I'm going to do. Not in that seeking, looking for the next thing way, but rather, you know, this is going to be a really exciting chapter. And then who knows what's next, you know? It's like we sit here and talk, we might leave here and walk to the car, and all of a sudden both have this exciting idea, and boom, we're doing some other thing. And 6 years from now, we're like, dude, that all happened because we were sitting in a podcast. That's crazy.
Yeah. Let me ask that one thing. Yeah, no, that's right, man. But condolences on your buddy there.
Yeah,
man.
thanks, man. Yeah. I can't talk about it too much because every time I do, I'm like, yeah, it was really, oh, nope, yep, there it goes again. But but it is one of the most magical things to be there with somebody in their family in that, you know, in that moment.
That's the most important thing, man. Yeah. When you think about, as you reflect on your life before and current, to your point, it's a thing that's still happening, you know, this world that you live in with Rally. You know, I was thinking to myself, like, I could spend this entire episode asking you about all the race car stuff. And right now, I hope you don't take it bad. I don't like feel compelled to, because I know
care
that
about race cars at all.
I know a ton of people have asked you. I know a lot about that. So maybe I'm being selfish for a second. I just know that inside Dave's brain, there's a lot of other things ticking. So if you don't mind, I'll just keep going down that path.
A race car is a hammer. If you want to talk to me about building houses and you want to spend the whole time talking about hammers, we're not going to have a lot of fun. It's a tool. It's a really cool one. Yeah. Anybody's welcome to hit me up anytime about race cars, but yeah, that's not what I'm with you. I'm not. That's not what.
You
it's
have
not
a
what
ton
gets
of
the
killer
juju flowing.
stuff. No, I know it doesn't, man. You got a ton of killer stuff out there for anybody who wants to tune in. That you've been right on the nose with that. I think the thing that goes through my mind is the one thing that I do know from that life that you live, similar to the life that I lived before this one. I find it sometimes my perception of risk is not almost never the same as everybody else around me. And what I mean by that is not so much not recognizing that it's not dangerous, but I've always internally feel that, hey, man, we're the right team. We're going to be good. And if it's just cause, like, let's rock and roll. And I've always found that sometimes it's difficult to get folks to come along because in their life experiences, who I have no control over, it's just not true to them. To them, it is like, you're asking us to jump off a cliff without a parachute. Yeah. And I'm like, no, the cliff ain't that high. Yeah. And we're tied in with rope. And there's a couple other points that we can step off and we'll be okay. How have you navigated not only your own perception of risk, because I imagine is you have a higher tolerance, but how have you also brought people along for the ride, specifically in your business, man, in your line of work? Like any thoughts or reflections on how you get folks to come along with you when you see it so clearly?
Yeah, it's the word risk that I like. I'm still stuck there because risk is such a unique word. Because for some, you know, I something I stumble into regularly. And when we do, you know, you and I've talked before about when we're doing coaching, when we're offering, you know, advice or support, we're doing a leadership, you know, coaching exercise. And you and I were fortunate enough to do this together once. And I think I mentioned this there as well. It's like we say risk, and every single person who heard that word has had a different experience, an emotional reaction, a different inference. They've put it in a different bucket. They've got a totally different lens on risk. And so for some people, they're connecting, you said race cars and risk, like, oh yeah, it's a dangerous business. I didn't even go there at first. Risk was that was like number 9 on the risk list. And there's liability exposure. There's risk to bodily harm and injury. There's financial, you know, loss. There's risk is just everywhere. And as soon as you see it, it's like looking at the source code. You're like, oh God, anybody can sue anybody for anything, you know? And you're like, oh, there's no amount of insurance that can protect us. Oh no. But sometimes, you know, I go back to what we talked about earlier, which is like the biggest risk for me is way scarier, and to this day, way scarier for me to go be a sandwich artist than it was for me to author this psychotically insane machine of a business that's like I've used this analogy about 4 times today already, but it's like a toddler with a fork running around trying to look for outlets, and I'm just desperately trying to find the breaker box. I'm like, I can't get the fork out of the toddler's hand. Let's just kill the outlets.
The power.
We'll deal with them stabbing themselves in the eye later, but let's just get them. Let's keep them from shocking themselves to death. Find the breaker, flip it off. Then we're going to move to trying to figure out how we get the fork out of the hand. It's like, whew, you know, and
throw a face mask on that kid if you can. Something, yeah.
Yeah. So the risk is just everywhere, and you know, and in this space specifically, it's like we're not selling SaaS, isn't software. There's no margin in this to begin with. The cars are also little suicide machines. You know, we're building race cars, and they're all expensive, and they all want to break. We're not on a racetrack. We're on a bunch of gravel roads that we built. Every time we drive on them, it's ruined, and we got to reprep the whole thing. And I'm spending $30,000 a year on grader blades for one implement, and we use 12 implements to prep the track. This is never going to work, right? So risk is aggregated into so many places, and it's the trust, right? It's like grounding in humor. It's getting that team together for me and getting them back to like, hey, this is what we're doing. And it's also, you know, again, leaning into that sort of extreme ownership container of being like, hey, I'm asking you guys to do this, and I'm asking you to trust me, and here's all the ways it can go wrong, and they're all my financial burden to bear, right? If you make a mistake, I pay for it. If I make a mistake, I pay for it. If you make a mistake, I pay for it, right? At the end of the day, you're trusting me to be the controller, to be the leader, to be the visionary and planner, and I'm trusting you to execute your portion of it, and I'm also 100% fine with you making a mistake within this container, because at least we're jumping into water. So next time we might be jumping onto land, we might not have parachutes, and there's a no miss. But right now we're doing it in a space where here's what it's going to look like for you to fail. It's just the expectation management, right? People just want to feel okay knowing what the potential outcomes are, and they want to know that you're not going to be angry, you're not going to hate them, they're not going to get punished or penalized, or that if there is a possibility for that, how can they avoid it? What are the pitfalls? How do they manage that? So for me, risk is almost always just tied to expectation.
And you think it's okay for, like, do you think, hey, I got to get these folks on my level? Or you're like, I just need to be able to figure out how to meet them at theirs and just understand, like, how I can get them to move, especially if they get paralyzed with it. Like, paralyzed, they can't do their job because they feel like, ugh.
Yeah. I think levels is always an interesting one where it's like, I definitely don't need anybody on my level. I don't know what my level is, but nobody else should be here. It's not fun. It's chaos. But I want them to feel like I want to help them be like, whatever you perceive to be this level, right? You know, if we're talking in those terms, you want to work towards whatever that North Star is, whatever that, you know, that growth is. I want to enable you to do that. And it requires mistakes. It requires risk. You have, like I talked about this with a team today. I was talking about a budget, and I'm like, we're not getting killed on $10,000 transactions, because everybody is smart and careful. Everybody knows what $10,000 costs, and everybody knows, regardless of the scale of our organization, they can feel the weight of a $10,000 decision. But nobody feels the weight of a $35 decision. Nobody feels the weight of a $10 decision. Some people feel the weight of a $300 decision. But if I give you a purchasing threshold that's $399 and anything below that you can purchase, you can spend $4 million a day. So that doesn't work. And so we were talking about the intersection of judgment, of approval, and of buying the wrong shit, and how important those three things are, and that we can't write an SOP for every single thing, or we're going to kill ourselves in meeting hell and approval hell, and we don't trust our team. And I was like, the only way we get better at spending and managing budgets is you guys got to buy the wrong shit. And then I got to go look through it, and we've got to get, it's just got to be iterative. I've got to trust you guys to screw this up. Just please screw it up with $10. Don't screw it up with $5,000, you know? Because we pay enough $5,000 mistakes and $10,000 and $20,000. I haven't had any 7-figure mistakes yet that I know of, but I've had 6. So the tuitions. My aunt said that a long time ago. Just take those ones, and those are tuition. We're just paying tuition. These mistakes are all tuition. And so I use that today. It was like, buy the wrong shit. Just every time you're buying something, think about, I'm going to go back through, or somebody's going to go back through, and we're going to audit this, and we're going to cross-reference and look at transactions. Nobody's going to motherfuck you. Nobody's going to tell you you're a bad person. But we're going to ask what your logic was, and then we're going to find ways to improve this. But I'm not going to ask ChatGPT to tell me how to prevent people from spending the wrong money and write an SOP from a robot that's not going to do anything. So you have to trust people to make mistakes, and you got to give them a container to make mistakes. You got to give them a sandbox, for that personal development. And then just have dogs around. That's the last piece. That always
for those that
fixes
can't see,
it.
you got old Crockett decided to make his little cameo appearance in here.
That's my buddy.
Man, you just doing your mid wake up, huh?
Yeah, a good nap, but I need some pets. Yep, that's the spot.
No, man, I think you nailed it. I think it's not being able to put so much tightening down the batches that now your folks are like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Well, then you really shot yourself in the foot on that one. And
you can't give them live rounds. You can never give them a live round if you don't give them. You got to give them a sandbox.
Yeah.
You can't just send them in with live rounds, and that's the biggest piece. And even there, it's like, hey, we're gonna live rounds. There's gonna be friendly fire at some point. We are gonna screw this up internally. We're gonna screw it up to clients. Again, it's not about whether we do that. It's about and to remind. For me, the biggest, most powerful tool that I have to remind myself as well is like, you have to tell people every step we take, every process we improve, everything new we do, we're going to fuck that up too. And again, it's never about whether or not you have made a mistake. It's always the 5 minutes or the day or the week after. And it's how you show up. It's how you walk in with integrity. And you're like, I did that.
Yeah.
I need help. I don't know how to fix it. And how we sit in that space, that's what defines growth. That's what defines leaders. That's what separates the team players and the people who want to be a part of where you're going and are rowing in the same direction from the people who are there to collect their paycheck every week.
So you'd say anybody stepping in this role of leadership or ownership or what might have you, if your objective is to build a system and run one where you will never get your knees skinned or punched in the face, this is probably not. That's not
stay home.
Yeah, don't
stay home.
Don't do that.
Yeah, stay home. and again, we don't want to tell people how hard it actually is because they won't do it, right? And I'm pretty sure that applies universally in everything in life. But yeah, no, I mean you gotta be like Travis Pastrana getting on a dirt bike, man. You gotta know, like, I've broken every bone in my body 4 times at least because the doctors lost record of that when he was like 17. Like he's so. And you've still got to be able to get up there and be like, this is going to hurt, and then go do it. And like, how do you land a double backflip? Not on the first try, and the bag jump still hurts, but at least you got a bag jump before you get out and do it on dirt or on the pavement or, with the live rounds, right? So you got to create that sandbox, and you got to do it for yourself too, right? It's like when you're learning new skills and you're that freshman coming home from your first psych class and you're, go say a bunch of dumb, terrible, awful, cringy stuff to your family. Go do it around the Thanksgiving table first. Don't go read a book and then try and deploy it to your team. It's so cringy. My CFO calls it business cringe, and he likes to periodically send me a little note on the side. I'm like, oh yeah, right, business cringe.
I know you just read that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think you read what you think you read.
Yeah.
Give it a second.
You keep on using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's something that, on the other side of it, I got to imagine, for as hard as it is for you, Dave, like why do you keep doing it then? Because it doesn't get easier, I think. I think you get better at it, but I don't know that it gets easier.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think it does, because I think
it gets easier.
Yeah, I think it for sure does in a variety of ways. One, because your relationship with hard changes so much. It's like, I don't have kids, so I'm projecting other people's experience here, but like, I can't know, sitting here right now, I cannot know how hard it is to have kids. And everybody who's ever had kids has had a different experience. But I do know that my friends who accidentally had triplets have a very different lens on life than I do, when they have a very different relationship to the word hard than I do. And I think everybody who does hard things, it just changes your definition of hard. And all of a sudden, the things that you felt like were just impossibly hard at some other portion, you've walked through so much stuff that you go back. I mean, think about being a kid, right? You fall down and your ice cream falls off, and you're like, this is the worst pain I've ever experienced. Man. This is it. That was it. That was my ice cream. There's ants on it. And the just relatable suffering of a kid losing their ice cream cone. Then they fall down a week later and they scrape their knee and they're like, that's worse. That hurts. That properly hurts. And then they, jump a BMX bike, break their arm, and then, they have their first heartbreak, and then they lose a loved one. And our capacity for our just ability to absorb and understand hard and pain and gratitude and love, it's always evolving. And so every step we're taking in anything in life, operating, whatever it is always related to how hard of a thing we've walked through. So when you've been through those just impossibly hard calls and those really challenging decisions, and you've had a task, something you hired 3 years ago and you delegated, and now you're right back to square one doing the thing that you thought you'd never have to do again. You're packing the orders again, or you're picking up the phone again or whatever. And that humbling experience of, I got in the portal and I built this amazing thing, and now I'm right back where I was and I got to start over. It's like we said, you started on the path, you tried that door, you went down that path, and you're like, this path is great. Oh, nope. And then you had to walk all the way back and start again. It gets easier, and it gets so much more fun when you've got the right people there with you doing it. And it becomes so much more clear how important it is that we've got to prioritize the business above everything else. Because in order to prioritize our employees and prioritize our team, we have to prioritize the health of the business, because if we take care of the employees, the business won't be there to take care of them. And understanding that caring for the business and prioritizing the business is not callous. It is the greatest gift. And inevitably, running a good business is taking incredibly good care of your people and nurturing those relationships on a personal level, who will then turn and nurture the kind of clients that you want. But it's in that order for me every time. It's the business, it's the employees, and the clients are always going to get the net of that by having a world-class experience and by having that really intentional connection, because the people love what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a hard thing for most folks to have to jump into, which is understanding that it does seem callous, but it's not. If you really think about like how that structure of service is, you want the captain taking care of the ship.
Yeah.
Like, dude, man, I'd love to take care of your hands and like everything else, but right now we're going to sink.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a boat to be on.
Yep.
Seems like part of taking care of the business, taking care of the ship. You mentioned that, hey, the business has gone through an evolution of, it's like a known experience is what you are, but you are an experience more front and center about it. I see it too. Can you talk a little bit about how, especially in a world where you think it'd be easy to kind of be cocky and beholden to be like, no, we are a racing organization.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point, and where are y'all at now with that?
Yeah. I always immediately go, I'm like, how did Yamaha decide to make jet skis and pianos? Right? So
we are a noise company.
Yeah. we like to sell things that you'll use twice. That's the core of the Yamaha model. This seems like a good idea. Financed. No, I mean, we're an events company. We're an experience company, but the thing that I love the most is like, it's this, man. Like I want to build the thing that matters, and I want people to have an experience that's connective and genuinely impactful. And selfishly, I want to be a really genuine and memorable part of people's life. I want to be a core memory. That's my selfish drive is like, it's not about Dave, but like, I want Rally Ready to be a core memory for you. And it's not our leading core value in what we do, but it has historically sort of defined how we interact with people. And what we found in doing that is, again, it's a toddler with a fork looking for outlets. It's very hard in this industry. And if you look at the turnover of people doing what we do in businesses, nobody starts this because we went in and said, what's the most profitable business model? And so inevitably, these are like many other entrepreneurs. You're really good at baking cupcakes. Next thing you know, you haven't baked cupcakes in 5 years. You're sitting in the back room doing paperwork, and you've got other people baking cupcakes. Same thing for me is like we got into it, and I haven't taught a class in 6 years. I don't get in cars anymore. I get motion sick too, so that doesn't help. But terrible thing to get. Motion sickness and race car instructing do not mix at all. Fortunately, I don't have any stories to mix that with, so it's been okay so far. But I when I got to start working on the business more and you start to pull back and you start to kind of see where we're operationally really high functioning, what our just inherent skills are, and what our gift is as a team, i.e. the aggregation of kind of who we've built and what their gifts are and what we do. It's like, we host the best events on earth. We do the coolest stuff, and our goal is always to try and stretch somebody's budget into a higher impact than they thought they would be able to get for, that amount of money. Some of that is being really intentional about who we curate, who we bring in. But a lot of that is the operational efficiency to make sure that like we can afford to give all the stuff that we want without, losing our ass. And the school and training side of the business that's where we started, and it's what we love, and it's what we started it as a driving school, as a rally school, a race car driving school, a place to learn how to slide cars around on gravel and take those skills and apply them, whether it's, you're going to Vail next week, you're going skiing with the family in a rental minivan, and you hit a patch of ice, same skills you're going to learn in rally school with us. You're an F1 driver or you're a sports car driver and you're looking for another skill set or experience. It's just tools in the driver's toolkit. But more interestingly, and as I've sort of grown in my own space, it's like, man, I just really like having high impact experiences that move the needle for people. And rallying is that unique, I described it earlier, in like that dynamic with a co-driver, that passenger riding with us, and we're authoring our own custom language. And it's this like life or death communication. And communication is life or death in a marriage, in a business, and certainly in a rally car. And so there's so much stuff that I found is really fun to connect with people and with brands and create not just these memorable, impactful in-person experiences, but then try to figure out how do we convert those into impactful content and media and other deliverables, and how do we use this as a launch pad for you to create your own inspiring narrative for your brand. So that's what we've become, is a hub for super rad shit. You want to shoot paintball guns out of a helicopter? Yeah, we can do that. You want to bring a group of 300 people and run through 12 activity stations in 3 hours? We'll figure it out. You want to bring 4 people out and you want a 2-day full offsite to dive deep in as a leadership team and start to uncover some big challenges, and you want to do some trust exercises and you each want to drive and co-drive, we'll do that. And I can't do the same thing repetitively very well. So it's a really good container for us to always be building new relationships, authoring new challenges, and getting to be I want to be a logo on the bottom of brands, accomplishments the same way that they are in ours. I don't want to just brag that we got to work with, a Red Bull or a Fulcrum Technologies or any of these companies that we love working with. I want them to also be able to brag that they got to work with us, and not from a place of ego, but because they're so proud and they're so excited. That was a core memory for the business as well as the individual.
Yeah. And y'all do have if anybody gets a chance to go out to Rally Ready, I would say that the environment, the cars, the activities, the entire thing is great. But y'all's, I think, of course you know this, but I brag on y'all quite a bit. It is the professionalism and the ability to make anybody feel at home very quickly in this very intense kind of place. It can be if you let your brain wander too much. It's a skill that I'm not sure how you've done it, but y'all have done it there, man. And it's awesome. Everybody you talk to, from the first person who answers the phone all the way to the first, and I don't know what it is, man. It's just like I think it hits you in the face right off the bat. It still pleasantly surprises me that there isn't this, I don't know, you probably expect like these intense kind of, race car type folks, and you show up and folks are easy.
You get Rob Winter, the best human being on earth. It's like the least race car human you could possibly imagine. You're like, what is this?
He's like a rally monk, man.
Yeah, 100%. He is, totally.
But it's just like the environment is awesome, man. Man,
no, I appreciate that,
people.
Man. Thank you. Yeah.
No, that's y'all, man. And people feel it right away as soon as they hang out with y'all.
Well, I'll challenge you on that and just say it is us, but I can see the things that we do well, and like any business, it comes with the curse of seeing all the things that I don't want to say operationally deficient in, but the things that's not our strong suit, or the things that we know we're refining. And it's not that customers, clients, people don't also see or experience those things in that space, but the goal is to create a container where, look, man, we're authoring something together and we're doing something that doesn't exist. You didn't choose to go to Lowe's versus Home Depot here, right? Like this is not a transactional implemental kind of deal. We're doing something that doesn't exist and hasn't been done. The business is doing something unique within the confines of, there's other businesses that do rally things, but nobody does what we're doing. And we want to match and mirror that with people who are the same way. And so working with you is always the same way. It's like, hey man, you get it. And if you get the culture, then like, this is so much easier. Yeah. We don't have to discuss the bullet points. We don't have to, it's just like, where you can ask for things, where you can, and it's just, you get in that flow state with a customer. And so that culture only exists because we're so curated with the people we work with. And when you get that mesh, man, it's the best thing ever. And I see the same thing, to be honest, it's the same thing with you. It's like why we've always meshed really well is you've got the ability to just like, you walk in, you mirror, and you can hold space for and with anybody. And to flip the script on you a little bit, I think one of the things for me that's so fun about the kind of friendship that we have is like, I count you as a friend. I will not think to call you 90% of the time that I would be like, God dang it, that would have been perfect. I should, because we're not around each other all the time because we're doing our stuff. And then we'll leave this podcast, and, you know, like any good friendship, there'll be, you know, a week, a month, 6 months of being like, dude, I got to introduce you to so-and-so. You got to come do this thing. And unless we make the concerted effort and the commitment to be like, hey, we're going to do stuff together, we're going to be friends, and we're going to like not do the, hey, come be on my podcast, you know, every 4 years, you lose that. And so like for me, man, like I'm stepping in here today, I'm like, J-Dog, my man, what you been up to? So similarly, I'm really genuinely curious, and I know this is your space. I don't mean to, you know, come on Letterman and then interview David, but like, dude, we're sitting in an amazing space with an amazing team. You're doing something really special. It feels so incredibly aligned for my personal mission and kind of what we do in our space. You know, our business. I'm super curious, like, you know, it's your own show, so you can tell me to shut up whenever you want and kick it back to me. But buddy, what you been up to the past couple of years?
Yeah, man. You know, just arts and crafts and things.
Yeah, you've been making some trips to Hobby Lobby. I see. That's nice. Yeah,
you seen that? Yeah, got
pipe cleaners. Got
into some woodworking, and I learned a little bit about lights, man. I think the short version, and I'll give you the friend version.
Yeah.
You know, later it's longer and maybe not more interesting, just more like. You talk about these portals you hit, and you go like, I can't explain that, but I'm going to tell you what happened, and you can kind of, maybe there's some reflection there. What I will say is over the last few years, where I've been blessed with, a couple things have hit for me, and one's on a personal level, and the other thing's just with like great teams and teammates around. You know, after getting out of the service, for me, my journey and walk through business has been a bit of like I thought I'd be a career guy, and I'd be like, I'd 30, 40 years. It wasn't any, like, I was the guy doing his dream job. And I think as a calling, it was, you know, time to step out and go do this. Had felt very deep calling, you know, like God's calling, hey man, go out and I need you to do something else. And so as I've been walking that, what's interesting, what I've learned even about myself is, and I feel like in a weird way, we're all kind of getting back to that 5-year-old version of ourselves.
Oh yeah, always.
I'd love
not
people.
me. I do race car stuff all day. I'm a grown adult.
I'm a grown adult doing it. But what I get to do now, and it's just context for your question, but like maybe for the folks who don't know me as well, but like what I get to do now is really what I've done since I was a kid, walking up to folks, sitting with an old timer on a bench. If my folks needed to find me, it was probably because I was just asking somebody questions. I don't have a single like favorite type of life. I just find everybody interesting, you know, and I find them just genuinely remarkable. Like, I don't know what it is. I just find what folks do just interesting, and it's always been something I can ask folks. Yeah. And I think over time I realized that was a thing that you could do, and I didn't know it was a thing you could do. It was just, but I think as a classically trained operator, somebody who's run businesses, run teams, run things, I didn't realize that was maybe part of what I was doing, like part of that seasoning that kind of made it work well. Yeah. I kind of thought maybe it was classic training. Yeah. You know, I didn't realize the seasoning maybe was the main dish. And so to answer your question, that context is there only to say that, you know, when we first started hanging and learning and getting to know each other, this was something that I was just kind of even reconciling with myself. Like, can this the natural curiosity that I have and my true, genuine care for human, like just the people, I just, you know, and it was that way when I was in the military too. I just deeply cared about where my guys were from, what they were about, why they ticked the way they did, all those things. Is that something I could do all the time? Like, and I don't know if anybody paid me to do it. Sure, nobody paid me to do it for years.
Can you give a shit for a living?
Yeah,
Can you give a shit for a living? That's the question.
Yeah.
We'll censor a lot of me. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's it.
Can I do that? You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think more than anything else, it just felt like the place I felt most alive is doing that part. And so for years when we first met, I was just doing it for free. I mean, I didn't have any, I'll admit to you that I didn't have any kind of real, I didn't have any real understanding where I was going with it. And maybe it's because of being this classically trained operator, just knowing that like that's probably what's going to continue moving the needle from a professional standpoint. I'll just do this thing. What you're kind of seeing now, if I can just point to what we've been up to, I think it's somehow that gift has been, and I hope it's okay to call it that, but like that thing is making its way into something that's also related to, I think it's being kind of used as a catalyst for purpose for other things. And I found that, especially with we're working now, that's somehow I've been blessed to team up with this. I mean, build this team and be around folks who are like the people I get to talk to, but for the people I get to talk for and have these conversations, I think are all folks maybe trying to, they're one of two folks. And I think it just makes my ability to storytell mean something more than just my personal curiosity. It's either folks trying to find their courage to go do something they just know innately they should step into. Yeah. They just don't know how to yet. Maybe they just hear one thing Dave says and then it moves them. They have that combo with their wife or husband at night, and then they make the step to go do the thing their community needs. Or it's that person probably in the depths and bounds of just like struggling to hold this thing together.
Yeah. Should I get up tomorrow and keep doing this, or should I finally file bankruptcy
and whatever, you know? And they hear just a bit of somebody telling some raw truth and them going, oh, I'm not by myself. Yeah. For right now in my life, that chapter has been something that I've been really focused on. And I think for me, it's just been something that, again, I was happy to do it for free forever. Yeah. And for some reason, it's resonating beyond that. And I think it's something that kind of we talked about before we pushed record on the show here today, that like, I don't know why sometimes. Like you don't like have I'd like to say that I have a clear understanding of how it all came together. Other than God providing and me just hopefully leaning into the things that, one of our teammates said something yesterday in an offside. I thought it was really remarkable. He said, I think we're all supposed to be on a quest that's good. The good thing is usually not easy.
I've never found it to be easy. In fact, not a single time.
But our life should be a quest of good. And I don't know, I suppose that's in some ways what's going on. Kind of what you see is some things that I can, and again, I'll give you the longer version later, but like I think part of it is that, and I think the other part of it is hi baby. It's something that you guys are doing also. I think you just like, there's like a genuine care for humans, and I think for some reason it just, people feel it, and then it just becomes more of a thing, and more people want to participate and be a part of it. Yep. So, yeah. And the technical answer is we're just trying to help get more good people. I think we see a time we just gave Dave a Make Business Local Again hat, But I think we're at a time where, like, we're really seeing that independent ownership and folks that are, there's a lot of different ways you can villainize business and stuff. But at the end of the day, it is one of the hallmarks of a really great country that is not perfect but means well. And I think it always has the right intentions. And I think if we can just remind folks that, hey, like, don't complain. Like, maybe you ought to step in the arena and go do something. Yeah. It's hard, but it's like, it's part of the move. So that's what we're doing, man. And it's cool to see so many folks rallying behind us. Like, that's just a thing that, I don't know, sometimes you kind of wonder if, like, your idea is, your purpose is the thing, like, only do I care about it? And then you're fortunate to look behind you and go like, oh, there's a lot of people behind there. Like, they just kind of feel like it's part of it. So I don't know. I hope that answers it.
It does, man. And I think that there's one thing there that, like, I feel like for people in your shoes, mine, anybody who's, as you described, who's chosen to be here with us this far, they're still with us. One of the hardest pieces of humility and of getting to a place of that confident, grounded space is being able to say out loud in front of people you love and trust and other people what your gift is, what your lane is, what you have conviction and about yourself to be true, and what you believe in about yourself. And if there's one thing that I think we all need to see a little bit more, and we all would stand to emulate more, is that kind and humble conviction in the things that we know for sure who we are and what we're good at. And again, it's not finance for me. That's not me, dog. That's not,
Man, that would have been a top 2 pick for me.
Yeah, no, I don't carry the one.
Top 2 for Dave. How do you describe Dave?
No.
Numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a real PEMDAS guy. The frequency by which PEMDAS comes up in my life, anyways, And to hear you sit and talk about your gift, I think is we have to feel comfortable. If you're going to step in to the arena or step into, you know, this challenge, or you're going to pick up the sword, or you're going to take on the next chapter, you're going to get out of your I would say it's your comfort zone, but the reality is it's your discomfort zone, right? For most people, that place where they're comfortable, you're not comfortable. You're reasonably miserable. That's why you're seeking, and you're looking for, you know, the next hit of sugar, or the next drink, or, you know, the next thing to buy on Facebook Marketplace for some people. But, you know, you're seeking because you're having a hard time being like, okay, I'm actually not comfortable. I'm really unhappy, and I'm not comfortable where I am, and I need to make a change, and that change is going to suck, and it's going to hurt. And I'm going to wake up and be like, oh, the last thing on earth I want to do is get on a rowing machine right now, and I'm going to do it for just 10 minutes anyways, and be like, God, I regret that, and I'm so glad I did it. And, you know, and that pain that comes with it, and only comes from a sense of conviction in and belief in yourself, and picking that thing that you're like, look, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't start a rally school because I was like, this is it. Here we go. We're off. And I, you know, wrote the, you know, pro forma, and was like, all right, here's our 10-year projections, and we're going to lose. Okay. That was just like, that's what I want to do. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that if I can figure out a way to get people in rally cars, it's going to have a positive impact on their life. And the first class I ever did, my buddy Chad was one of our customers, and he came up to me at the end of the second day. It was a 2-day class, or a 3-day class maybe. And he came up to me at the end of the second day, and he goes, dude, I've been watching rally on TV since the 80s, since Group B when I was a kid, and I have dreamed my entire life of getting to experience what it was like to be in a rally car in any capacity, as a co-driver, as a driver, as a passenger, I don't care. And not only have I gotten to do that now, but in 2 days, I know how to drive a rally car, and I know what it feels like. Maybe I can't do what the WRC driver can do at that level, but I can make the car do that, and I know what's happening. And just the connection to that is so like, it's so crazy. And the part that like has every single day stuck with me forever is these like, what else can I do? And it's like, oh, right. And like, that is so, again, it's so cheesy and cliche, and like, it feels absurd and like cringe central, not business cringe at least, but like, man, that's it, dude. We've got, you know, in a rally car, we're like, look, all we're doing is you're taking in data with your eyes, and you're outputting it to your hands and your feet. And all we're here to do as instructors is help rewire those neural pathways so that the data that comes in through your eyes can go out to your hands and feet as quickly as possible. So that as a driver, much like, you know, a business owner or an operator, you've got all these problems to solve. Don't get stuck doing all the things that you need to find a who for, right? Like, don't get stuck doing every task. But when you're driving, you're responsible for all of those corrections. You're responsible for, you're going to turn into a corner, and you're always going to have a correction. There's going to be a small input that's required. And our job as your instructors, your coaches, your mentors for the day, week, for your life, whatever, are to help you refine those things. So all those tiny mistakes that you're making become less and less and less and less. You get faster and smoother and quicker until it becomes muscle memory, and you can self-coach and you can self-regulate. And I think all of that starts from a seed of, you've got to truly believe, this is my thing. This is what I feel compelled and called to do through God, or through whatever your channel, your path. From here, more than here, it's almost always from here, and then it costs you here. But if you can lean into that and find a path, it's just so much more powerful than anything that we can write economically, or, you know, on a P&L, or you can't describe it, you know. Same way you said, you can't describe how hard it is to have kids. I can't describe to you how hard it is to do this. But if you are motivated by that same North Star, like kids, you know what it means, and you know how important it is. And so you get out of bed every day and you show up for those kids. A business is the same way. When you realize how important and how big it is, and you feel that calling, and you know what that thing is, it's just nothing like it.
Nothing like it, man. And to your point, you start getting things put in front of you that almost hard to make sense of it. But you know, you got to say yes to them, or you got to like rope them in. I think. Yeah. I appreciate you asking that question, man. I don't know that I've had it asked before or anything. I mean, typically it's not the case on this show, but I appreciate you asking, man. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think leaning into our gifts is. I know you're right. It's a hard thing for guys like us to do, I think, because it is something too that a lot of people who are closest to us see so clearly.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, I know my wife says all the time, she's like, let that thing rip, man. Like
Yeah,
she
yeah.
goes, because it's like,
Well, she's wiser than both of
yeah,
us. So
but she's like, hey, look, I mean, your wife and mother are probably both like, hey, look, if people who know who you are,
yeah.
you ain't got nothing to worry about, because they know it's coming from a good place, and they know you're just going to try to care more about folks and whatnot. And it just
And let them think what they think. I get so stuck. I get so stuck thinking anybody cares about me and cares about anything I'm doing. Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares what I'm doing. Nobody who has any judgment for me has anything to contribute to my life, to my what. Like, they got their own shit, man. And honestly, they don't know. They don't care, because we're all stuck in our own world, you know? It's like, yeah, I show up here because I want to be with you, but we're also all showing up because we got our own path, and this is a part of our chapter and our journey. And most of us are so blinders on, and we're so focused on our next thing and our thing. Nobody's paying attention to anybody else. So like, I have to like kick myself all the time and be like, get out of your own way. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Stop aiming for perfection. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's good enough. It's fine. They don't care.
Yeah.
You can pick another font next time. Send the email out to the people with the proposal so that they can get the numbers and they can make a decision. And you can, on the next one, you can put another font, or you can change the typeface. Nobody cares. And that is like, whew, man, that's a hard one. And it's good to have people around who are like, honey, I love you. You're in the weeds.
Yeah, you need to chill out for a second.
Trust your magic and just let it go.
Let it rip, man.
Yeah, let it rip. I'm going to write that one down.
No, man, it's why you always need a really great. I mean, I think doing this life without somebody who's like you're probably most important director on the board, which is usually sitting at a dinner table with you at night.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody.
The truth.
Yeah, you just
Absolutely,
you know
the case
what I mean?
of my life.
Yeah. No decision in my brain doesn't go through without. At this point, it's not even like, because I think she's going to give me the answer. She's just going to give me a look, which is more like, okay, that's what I should do, or okay, that looks like I'm off.
Yeah, yeah. You're like,
wait, you're looking at me.
This is baseball coach code. He's like,
Yeah. Like,
you're like, yeah, got it, understood. Yeah, yeah. He's gonna steal home. You're right. Yeah, yeah. I had the same epiphany recently with my wife. We were talking about something, and I was like, I'm just fucking this all up. She's like, whoa, how so? I was like, because I have the smartest person who is equally invested, because this is all our life that we're building together, and we've got our independent lives and we got our separate stuff, and you've got your businesses, your world, your stuff. But I've got the best consultant on earth, and I chose you. I was like, that's it. That's the one. That's my coach. That's my friend. That's my, and you don't need to be everything to me, and you don't have to also be my coach and consultant in addition to all of the other roles that you fill in my life and others. But like, I don't think I tell you enough how much I value that input, and we talked about that, and I was like, I want you to help with these decisions within the container of whatever you feel comfortable providing. But like, man, we stood there and said a lot of nice words in front of a lot of our friends and family about how much we trust each other and how excited we are to do all this together. And then I forget to go ask for your input. And guess what? Every time I do, in the least number of words possible, as you said, I get the best advice I've gotten in 5 years. I'm like, man. Right, yeah, we spent so much money on that whole party because you're that smart, and because that's the kind of trust we have. So yeah, man, if you're fortunate enough to have that kind of support, if you're fortunate enough to have a partner at all, no less one that you trust and have that kind of faith in, and family and other people to support, like, you got the team, you got a board of directors right there,
Rock,
put them in, coach.
No, put them in. It's the best thing ever, man. I think for anybody stepping into the arena, I don't know how you do it by yourself. You can't.
No.
You can't, man.
No. God, no.
Ugh.
Good Lord. Oh, man, I can't imagine.
Man, this might need to go Joe Rogan long format here pretty soon, 3 or 7 hours, man, or whatever. But brother, I could talk to you for hours and hours, man. I appreciate not only you coming in, but I know without a doubt there are folks out there that are going to hear more than a few things that you've said, and it'll help them. And I know that's why everybody who sits in that seat, but I know specifically you, like, I think, there's no doubt that somebody out there is going to get moved in the way they need to. So I always appreciate your raw candor and the humor that you bring with it, and your friendship, man. So I appreciate you coming in and sharing some words, brother.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure always. This part's fun. The friendship's even more important, and I'm grateful for it as well. And anybody who it does resonate, I had somebody reach out to me once who was my sales rep at a wholesale parts company, and he told me that we were on a call one day and we were chatting, and he was selling me shocks for a rally school car when I had no idea what I was doing. And those moments somebody says you do something wise, and you're like, I did? Oh. And I apparently said something to the effect of, I just try to do something, don't care how small, every day to try and move myself towards the thing. And now he's got this unbelievably amazing company called Gearhead Homes. They sell these. He basically aggregates all of the cool houses anywhere in the country that have garages and stuff. And that stuck with me because that meant so much to me to know that like a conversation in passing can have an impact. And so anybody who, I say this for your benefit as well. If you're listening to this and you're moved, you're empowered, you make a meaningful change, one of the most powerful things you can do is turn around and share it. Share it with me, share it with Joe, share it with us, and let us know that like, hey, the stuff we're doing, everybody always thinks the person over there has got it all figured out. Man, we're making this up. We didn't talk at all before this. We exchanged 2 emails. There's no script. There's no plan. Just like in our business, it's absolutely unhinged chaos. And those words of reinforcement can go a long way to helping you show up here every day and know that what you're doing is really resonating. And to be fair, to be selfish, I really just came here because you always say nice things about me, and I knew I was going to feel good about myself. So
that'll never change, man. That'll never change.
Back at you. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to the American Operator Podcast, where we celebrate the backbone of America, small business owners and operators like you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss out on more of these stories and insights from people who keep our community strong. Until next time, keep building, keep operating, and keep America moving forward.